Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Today, Bridget Griffin shared a video of her daily yoga routine, 2 self-help articles, and her new blog called Build Your Inner Bridge with Bridge. Girl, your sharing has turned into oversharing. No worries, Bridge. Geico has some info worth sharing with your 7 blog followers, like how you could save money on your car insurance, update your policy, and report a claim just by visiting geico.com. How's that for building your inner bridge? Bridge? Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show, covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com, or check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Got one hell of a show planned for you guys tonight. We'll be joined here in about 30 minutes with Collin Cabre. I know that I probably missed it. I am so bad with names. But I'm going to go with Collin Cabre from the Rev Racing, another one of the Drive for Diversity winners. Very excited about the opportunity to be able to meet Collin first time that he will be on the show. And just looking for the opportunity to get to know another one of the upcoming rising superstars in the NASCAR ranks. And then don't forget, also at 10:30, we got Izzo, our very own NHL expert, joining us to get us all caught up on the latest going on around the NHL. So very excited about having both of these people on tonight, and just very excited to be here tonight and do what we love doing, talking sports. Just another one of those lovely days here in North Carolina, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But NBA, got a lot of trades going on, so nothing really that impactful, I guess. I mean, to me, this time right now is an opportunity to basically put yourself in a situation, be competitive with either San Antonio, Golden State, or if you're in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you're not doing anything to put yourself in a position to be competitive with any one of those 3 teams, really, honestly, you're wasting your time, and you're not doing anything to improve your situation, or even the possibility of holding on to a job for another year. As we've seen with David Blatt, it don't matter if you went to the NBA Finals. It don't matter if you're the number 1 team in your conference. If you're not producing championships, it doesn't really matter. And so, therefore, if you're not building a team that is going to be competitive with Cleveland in the East, or the San Antonio Spurs or the Golden State Warriors, period, then you honestly you're wasting the time of the players, you're wasting the time for your fans, and you're wasting the time, honestly, of your day, and you could have been doing something a little bit more productive. The Charlotte Hornets are going to be acquiring guard Courtney Lee from the Memphis Grizzlies, who are getting center Chris Anderson from the Miami Heat as part of a 3-team, 4-player trade, resources told the vertical. The Hornets are sending point guard Brian Roberts to the Heat and swingman P.J. Harrison to the Grizzlies, who are also receiving a pair of second-round picks each from both the Heat and the Hornets. One of the Heat's second-round picks going to Memphis is heavily protected. The deal also is a significant cost-saving move for the Miami Heat. Lee, who is 30, also averaged 9.7 points a game, 2.6 rebounds, 1.5 assists in 8 seasons with Orlando. New Jersey, Houston, Boston, and Memphis. He'll provide some perimeter help for the Hornets, who are 27 and 26 and in contention for the East's final playoff spot. That move may help the Charlotte Hornets with the contention of the final playoff spot, but it's not going to change the contention of them being an actual threat to not even Cleveland, but we can go with Toronto, we can go with Indiana. That move with Charlotte is not going to put them in a serious talks of getting past any one of those top 3 teams. I mean, so honestly, that move to me that it's going to help Charlotte maybe stay in the playoff picture. But honestly, that move kind of still has me kind of scratching my head, because right now the only moves that make sense to me and only moves that are worth even trying to shift everybody around and disrupt your chemistry, your team, are moves to help you to help you put yourself in an opportunity to contend for an actual championship. Pistons acquired Tobias Harris from Magic. The Detroit Pistons have agreed to, in principle, to acquire forward Tobias Harris from the Orlando Magic for point guard Brandon Jennings and forward Ersan Ilyasova. A league source told Yahoo Sports Harris averaged 13.7 points, 7 rebounds this season, while shooting 31.1% from three-point range in 49 games for Orlando under first-year coach Scott Skiles. The versatile 6'9", 235-pounder who can play both forward positions signed a 4-year, $64 million deal last offseason. Harris' scoring average and three-point percentage have dropped from a season ago when he averaged 17.1 and 36.4% from the three-point range. Jennings averaged 6.8 points a game, 3 assists, and this season is shooting 37.3% and 18.1 minutes per game as a reserve for the Pistons after returning from the torn ACL. During the 2014-15 season, the 7-year NBA veteran averaged 15.4, 6.6 assists a game. Jennings is making $8.3 million in a final year of his contract. Ilyasova averaged 11.3 points, 5.4 rebounds for the Pistons in 52 games this season. The 6'10", 235-pounder is making $7.9 million this season with a team option of 8.4 next season. Skiles coached Jennings and Ilyasova and previously with the Milwaukee Bucks. Once again, this is another big move that went on as we see 3 teams moving around. But once again, just not a move that is going to make Detroit or Orlando relevant when we come down to the end of the year and we talk about serious threats in the Eastern Conference Finals, or really even probably make it to the second round. It blows my mind that there's a lot of meaningless, and I know a lot of these moves got to do with salary cap moves and preparing themselves for the off season, but it's one of those things that I don't know. Like I said, if you ain't trying to put yourself in a position to take the Eastern Conference, then honestly, it's rather pointless rather pointless to even make these transitions. Set yourself up for the off season. Set yourself up for moves in the off season, draft picks, rebuild your team or add to your team. Like I said, there's really no point to tearing up the nucleus here and really spend the last 30 games of the season potentially hurting yourself, because now you've got to work on chemistry. Now you're looking at a good week or two before you're back into the rhythm. Season gets back going here tomorrow. So you kind of shooting yourself on the foot with these trades. And obviously we're going to see some more trades before the trade deadline happens, but I'm not feeling our off-season moves. And I had the opportunity earlier today, to strike up a couple conversations with a couple of different people talking about this. And we was talking about the moves going on, and who was going where and what teams were involved. And the first thing out of my mouth and the kind of the first reply, I think I kind of beat them to the question. There was nothing impactful. There was nothing that was going to change what we expect to see at the end of the year. And honestly, what we all expect at this point is we expect to see the Cleveland Cavaliers be in the Eastern Conference, or to be the Eastern Conference representative in the final. There is not a team out there that has shown us that they are good enough to be on the level with the Cleveland Cavaliers and not alone beat them, the Cavaliers, in the best of 7 scenario. There might be there might be a team or two that can win maybe a game here, maybe 2 games out of a best 7 series, but we've not seen a team so far in the Eastern Conference that poses as an actual threat of being able to beat Cleveland Cavaliers in a best of 7 scenario. And we all are already picturing the Western Conference. It's coming down to San Antonio or Golden State. At this point, San Antonio has now showed us that they are up to the task or the challenge to eliminate the Golden State Warriors and do the Cleveland Cavaliers a favor, because I honestly believe the Cavaliers in a 7-game series, they have that opportunity to beat the San Antonio Spurs. I think that the San Antonio-Cleveland finals would be one of those that would go 7 games and would be a very interesting, could go either way scenario. Golden State, on the other hand, I don't think Cleveland's up to the task still. Even with the pieces they added in the off season and the new up-tempo offense and the new, physical Cleveland Cavalier team, I just can't see them still keeping pace with the Golden State Warriors. No doubt in my mind that we'll see the same results out of the finals. 6 games going to Golden State, if it even goes 6 games. To be honest with you, I think that this Golden State team is even better this year. As much as I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers potentially is going to be better this year than they were last year, I think that the Golden State Warriors are even that much better this year than they were last year. And so, if you got anybody other than a Cleveland San Antonio or a Cleveland Golden State Warrior, I would love to know your logic and your reasoning behind that. Because there's not been a team in the Eastern Conference or a team in the Western Conference to suggest otherwise that one of those 3 teams will not be facing off in the NBA Finals, 2 of those 3 teams facing off in the NBA Finals. And if you got another scenario and you got an actual reason, not because, I'm a Houston Rocket fan and I just think Dwight Howard and James Harden, this is their year, or, Toronto, wow, they won 10 games in a row before the All-Star break, or 11 games, however it was. So there's no, if you got a legitimate explanation to why, not because it's your team or not because some team happened to win 10 games in a row, or any, we no longer have this player, we're automatically going to be better. No. If you got a legitimate reason an explanation to why you think that it's not going to be Cleveland versus either San Antonio or Golden State in the finals, I would love to hear this. All you got to do is hit me up on Twitter at CJSports1, or you can shoot me a message over on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. Love to hear it. I'm always open for a good debate. I think it would be interesting if there was somebody out there that honestly, just thought that for this reason or that reason, and now they got to be legitimate reasons, that we're looking at some other scenario here for the Eastern Conference or even the Western Conference. I would love to have somebody tell me it's going to be somebody other than San Antonio and Golden State. I mean, as much as I would love for someone to think that Cleveland's going to be dethroned and there's actually a legitimate team out there in the Eastern Conference, I would love it even more if somebody can actually convince me and have actual proof or some kind of legitimate explanation to why it's not going to be Golden State or San Antonio. I would love to hear that. I think that would definitely turn my week around and give me something to smile about, because that would be probably the most entertaining thing that I would hear all week long. And so, like I said, you got it. All you got to do is hit me up at CJ Sports 1 on Twitter. Message me on Facebook, Mr. CJ Sports. I would love to hear it. Dying, as a matter of fact, to hear it. But so far, that's all the trades. That's we got coming out that has been reported here at the 110 Nation Studios. Definitely, we'll keep you guys posted throughout either on Twitter, Facebook, or of course tomorrow night's show when we bring you the latest going on in the NBA as well. Don't forget, if you interested in coming on the show, all you got to do is hit up Miss Lee at Lee_110Nation at yahoo.com. That is LEE_110Nation at yahoo.com. If you're an athlete, part of some kind of team, athletic organization, it don't matter. Maybe you got a show or site and you want to come on and you want to promote it and talk sports while you're on the show, or maybe you have some kind of charity or foundation that you want to plug and come on and talk about it. As Monday night we had the Man Behind Seek to Destroy Cancer, a real big wrestling event that they have here in Fayetteville, North Carolina on March 19th at 6 p.m. The fan meet and greet starts at 4 o'clock to help raise money for a particular strand of cancer that does not have a cure at this point. Definitely enjoyed having them on last night. Definitely looking towards the event on March 19th. Or also we got Tommy Danger, who's going to be making a return to the show. That we're going to be involved with helping them with their More Than Just Miles. It's a 5K run that they have down in Florida that helps raise money for cystic fibrosis. So very, very excited about both of those events. But if you got something like that, also hit up Miss Lee. Like I said, it's LEE_110Nation at yahoo.com. Also, if you're interested in joining the 110 Nation, maybe you have a show that you would love to have syndicated on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network to be exposed to our thousands on top of thousands of listeners and readers out there in social media. Maybe you're a writer and you would love the opportunity to have your work read by our fan base. Maybe you got maybe you want to help co-host. Is that something that we're looking for? Maybe you're an expert in some kind of sport, like we have Izzo joining us tonight at 10:30. He's an expert in NHL. Knows the NHL frontwards and backwards, sideways, up and down, below the ice and above the ice. It don't matter. This man knows that maybe that's your expertise, and you would love to be part of the 110 Nation. Come on maybe once or twice a week for 30 minutes at a time to get our fan base up to date in your expertise, or maybe you're being more behind the scene person. Maybe you want to help with our social media, make it have more of a presence on the social media world, or PR or marketing, whatever the case may be. All you got to do is hit me up, Mr. CJ Sports at gmail.com. I would love to have the opportunity to talk to you and see about getting you here on the 110 Nation. Like I said, we got Collin Cabre joining us at 9:30. Looking forward to having him on, part of Rev Racing in the K&N Pro E Series. Also, one of the Drive for Diversity winners. Very excited about having the opportunity to talk to him. And like I said, 10:30, we got Izzo joining us to talk NHL. Ronda Rousey, I don't know how many people knew about this, and this is something that's been circulating a lot today. Contemplated suicide following her Holly Holm defeat. And, it was one of those things that, got some airtime as she sat and talked to Ellen as well, but didn't take the loss so well. Ronda Rousey was so broken by being knocked out by Holly Holm last year that the fighter said she thought of suicide following the bout. The star fighter made that shocking claim during the emotional interview on the Ellen DeGeneres show that aired today. In the medical room, I was down in the corner. I was sitting in the corner, and I was like, what am I anymore if I'm not this, Rousey said, as DeGeneres passed her a tissue. And I was literally sitting there and thinking about killing myself in that exact second. I'm nothing. Like, what do I do anymore? And no one gives a blank about me anymore without this. I tell you what, that goes to show you, no matter how happy someone seems or how successful somebody is or on how top of the world someone might seem, that you never know what's going on inside. You have no idea what personal demons that are tearing them up inside, and that how frightening that honestly could be and can be. You have so many people out there that talk about it on a regular basis that they just had no idea, and that there was no signs, and they seemed they seemed happy, and whatever the case may be, and you just never know. And here you are, someone that on top of the world was the best female Ultimate Fighter that we have ever seen. Movies galore. You name it, Sports Illustrated multiple times. Is the cover of the Sports Illustrated now. That the new swimsuit edition is going to be coming out. She is one of the regional, or however they break it down. I think there was like 4 different front covers. There's so much that you would just assume with the success. You would assume so much with the success that that there would not be these demons. I mean, why would you think that? I mean, there's so many people out there that I guess they just don't know. I mean, for someone that's never been to a point that I felt that my life needed to be taken for any reason, it's hard for me to understand. I've been around people that were highly depressed. I mean, could never understand why. I've lived with people that were depressed. Made no sense to me. I mean, roof over their head, jobs, healthy kids, bills paid, in a relationship that, everything was 100% honest. Never could understand what would cause somebody to be depressed. And, obviously, it don't matter how good you have it, or how bad you have it. I guess the same thought process is going through their mind. I don't talk about this often. As a matter of fact, I don't know anybody outside of my mother and, of course, my brothers that know this. And, knowing that none of my family listens to my show, I can go ahead and talk about this. It's not like it's a threat that anybody's going to listen in and say, I can't believe you're talking about this. 2 different brothers trying to commit suicide. And, none of their situations was ever to the point that it made sense to me why you would try to commit suicide. And it's one of those things that I can't wrap my mind around. I had one brother actually put a gun to his head, and he actually pulled the trigger. It was only because he jerked real hard when he pulled the trigger that he missed. And then I had, and from what I understand, that wasn't the first time he tried to take his life. And the same thing with another one of my brothers who slit his wrist, and that, from what I understand, that wasn't the first time he tried to do himself in like that as well. So I understand that, this is, the whole wanting to commit suicide thing and having those thoughts are, possible, but, I guess it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it, because like I said, I know people that have been depressed, and I sit there and have the discussion with them and try to wrap my mind around, if you got a job, you got a roof over your head, you got healthy kids, you got someone there that, is 100% honest with you, and there's nothing wrong going with your life, how can you be so depressed? It is one of those things that I personally will never understand, because no matter how bad it gets for me, and I'm not going to say if things were going bad, maybe being depressed, but when things ain't going bad, and yet you're depressed for whatever reason that makes you want to be depressed, I don't have those same thought processes, and I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong. I'm just not understanding how you have that thought process, because there are people out there that have it so much worse. That's the first thing that goes through my mind when I hear people talk about committing suicide or how depressed they are, especially when I know, how their life is and how good they really do have it. And, I sit there and think to myself, no matter how bad I got it, there is always somebody out there that's got it worse than me. There's always that guy that's homeless, or that person that has not ate for a week, or that female out there that has been raped, or that person that has come down with a terminal illness. I mean, there is always somebody out there that has it so much severely worse than I. And, I don't think anybody ever saw this coming from Ronda Rousey, because you just assume, because she is on the top of the world, she lost one fight her whole career. And you would just assume that, there would have to be a lot more, things to kind of domino effect before someone would have those kind of thoughts. Like I said, I've had family that has gone through this. I have lived with people that are depressed. I don't understand it, because none of the situations out of all the people that I've known has ever been to the severity that you should be even considering being depressed or committing suicide. But, I guess to each its own, and, it's kind of one of those things that I'm glad that there's prevention, centers and those out there that's their expertise, because looking back and looking at all 3 people that I know that has been, they said that they were severely depressed, and knowing 2 of them tried to kill themselves, and looking at the big picture, and I can only scratch my head because there's no signs to me. All of them had good lives going on at the time. I got to be thankful for those that this is their expertise, because, I've had these conversations, and I know as serious as it can get, because I've seen it go to the extreme. I don't see the signs, and I'm sorry, but it's hard for me to wrap my mind around how somebody could be so depressed or want to commit suicide when they actually have a really good life. And there's not that many things to be depressed about. Like I said, when I'm looking at these people and they got jobs and healthy kids and healthy relationships and roof over their head and, you know, transportation and, you know, jobs and everything else you could throw out there, food on the table, I can only sit there and think to myself, what can you be depressed about? What could be that severe that you're either that depressed or you try to commit suicide? And like I said, her Rhonda, the prime example. Like, you know, so I said I'm glad there's experts out there and can help dissect the thought process, because, you know, as sympathetic as I like to be, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around it as well. And like I said, you know, I've served my country. I've been unemployed. There's been times that whether or not I knew where I was going to be living, I have not had transportation in months, and who knows when I'll actually have a reliable transportation of my own. And you know, there's two things that keep me from being depressed. One, I always know that I have God above, and I know that through God all things are possible. So that right there to me is worth more than anything anybody can ever say to me. There's no way that there's ever any point in my life, and I know that I got a guest and I'm getting ready to get it switched over. I know that there's no way that I can ever allow myself to get to that point, because I know what the man upstairs has planned for me, and it is never more than anybody can handle. And then second note, I always know that there's people out there worse than me. I know that, you know, I thank my lucky stars every day that when I served and when I went overseas, that I came back with every limb on my body. I came back exactly the way that I left and didn't lose nothing. And like I said, I know there's people every day that, you know, lose their home and they're homeless and living on the streets, or, you know, come down with terminal illnesses, or, you know, lose their job a lot longer than I lost my job. I know that there's so many people that have it worse off than I can't let myself get depressed or get to a point that I want to commit suicide. And like I said, I think that's why those two things there are right alone. One, why I'll never be to the point where I feel that I'm super depressed or that I'm willing to end my life for it. But I think that's also why I think to me it was such a shock to see and hear that Ronda Rousey even contemplated suicide, knowing that the good Lord upstairs is got a better plan and will never put more on your plate than you can handle. And that being the ultimate fighter in your weight class, or even in your sport such as rounding, so much you lost one match, to know that you are queen of the MMA, of the UFC, and yet you were still depressed enough that I'm sorry, but that's those are the two things right there that keep me that on the straight and narrow path right there of never worrying about being that depressed or you know, contemplating doing what my brothers try to do, what Rhonda had contemplated doing. If you guys know anybody out there, though, please, if you see the signs, like I said, obviously, I it's a lot harder for me to wrap my mind around it and understand it, especially since I've seen the people that I have a good life and still yet be depressed. Make sure that you guys call the suicide hotline prevention, get them some help. You know, obviously this is becoming more and more of a common thing, and we don't need anybody else taking their life and trying to take themselves away from those that do love them. But anyway, let's get into a happier conversation here. We got a very young, talented driver joining the show tonight. Very excited about having Colin join us tonight. And I hope that I did not jack this up, but I'm going to attempt this one more time. I'm going to go with Collin Cabre, and he's going to correct me if I'm wrong. But we got him in the studio now, so let's go ahead and get him on the show. How are you doing tonight, Colin?
Good. Thank you for having me on the show. And, you know, no, just said the last name close. It's Cabre.
Cabre?
And there's a ton of other people that butcher it really bad.
I try my hardest to not butcher them as much as possible. And sometimes I get lucky, but most of the time, unfortunately, I end up butchering it. Before we jump into this, though, I want to give you an opportunity to plug yourself. If it be social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you happen to use, personal site, team site, sponsorships, whatever you want to throw out there real quick before we jump into this. That way the fans get to know you on a more personal level and get to follow you not only in the 2016 but throughout your career.
Yeah, definitely. I have all three Facebook, Instagram, Collin Cabre, and Cabre, and Twitter is at Collin. So you can reach me at, and they also web updates throughout the races and whatnot.
All right, wherever you're at, right there, stay right there. You got cell phone reception issues, and at the very beginning I heard you real good, and the very end I heard you real good, but the middle you broke up real bad.
Okay, I'll stay right where I'm at.
There you go. And for those that didn't get that, I will pass all that information on as well. Motocross. This seems to be a more and more of a trend when it comes to the guests we've had on. You got into motocross at 4 years old, and that was your introduction to racing. What made your family decide that motocross was the route that you were going to travel in your path to becoming a race car driver?
Yeah, like you said, we became me and my dad rode motorcycles out at just the local tracks, and it really became, something that I really enjoyed and that I was good at. And we traveled all over the country, racing motocross, and that was where that's where I was, looking to go. And we had seen people get hurt, and we had seen, really bad injuries and whatnot, but we were at a close practice down in Florida, and one of our close friends ended up, casing a jump and landed on his back and ended up paralyzing him. And for some reason, that spooked Dad pretty bad, and he called Mom and just, cut it off cold turkey, and he said, we're selling the bikes and everything, and, we'll look for something else. And then we went on to go-kart racing and just worked my way up through the local ranks. Ended up racing dirt and asphalt sprint cars before I went full-time stock car racing with Rev Racing.
Well, has there been any concerns when it comes to four wheels? Obviously it's not as dangerous as motocross, but we've seen some pretty severe injuries, to include Kyle Busch this last year at Daytona. Has injuries in four wheels been a concern of the family at all, or is it the fact that it's a little bit less common that you guys just kind of, all right, we'll give this a shot?
No, yeah, it was definitely, it's always a thought in every family and everybody that cares about you's mind, when you're racing anything that, whether it's bicycles, dirt bikes, cars, anything that, crashes do happen and injuries do happen. But we wanted to, when we took on the go-kart route, we really, wanted to pursue this, and I had a talent for it. So we wanted to, take this as far as we could go, and it's just part of the game, as I always have known. Just if you get hurt, you just get right back up and do it again. And it's just not really a concern. It's always in the back of your head, but it's just something we have to deal with as race car drivers and athletes. That it's possible.
How much is it a relief? And obviously, probably more towards your dad, since that was his big concern in the motocross. But how relieving is it to know that NASCAR really goes above and beyond to try to ensure safety in all aspects of the sport. Yes, we see injuries such as like Kyle Busch, and, it's unfortunate that a lot of times we don't realize that, that's maybe not the safest thing until something happens, such as Dale Sr., and then come the safer barrier walls. Then you have Kyle Busch, and they realize, well, now we need to repave some of this grass stuff to help slow down the vehicles. And it's unfortunate, a lot of things now, it's a product of, okay, we didn't think about that until it was too late, and unfortunately somebody got severely hurt or unfortunately maybe passed away. But NASCAR, outside of that, is really striving to try to put on the safest sport as possible. How relieving is that for someone like you that, left one type of racing to be a part of another type of racing to try to be involved in a sport that is super safe?
No, it's very relieving. And you're right, NASCAR goes up and beyond to, make sure that every racetrack we go to is safe, whether it's the local tracks that we run at or it's the big NASCAR tracks. Everything is thought of, everything is gone over, checked, and the seats and the head and neck restraints, the helmets, everything is top-notch. And if it's not, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're not going on the racetrack. So it's very relieving. And go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, finish up.
And I still watch motocross to this day, and it's very disappointing to see your rider, go down or get hurt, and it kind of turns you away from it a little bit. So as a fan, we don't want to see our favorite guys get hurt. So it's very good that they keep everybody in.
Now, you got into go-karts after 6 years of motocross. You guys stepped away from that due to the safety. Jumped into go-karts at 10. Now, listening to most of the guests that I've had on the show, you were kind of a senior citizen at 10 years old in the go-kart circuit. How quickly did you pick up on that, and did you feel that you were a little bit older compared to some of your other competition when it comes to jumping into the go-kart series?
Yeah, you go up against kids that are definitely younger, and I was a little bit older, than the other kids, and I picked up on it kind of quick. It wasn't as crazy as what I had been, doing before. So I really had to, just calm down. I was too hyper, and I didn't understand why there were yellow flags, why everybody was slowing down. It just didn't ring a bell at the time. And so it took me a little bit to catch on from what I had been doing. So, but yeah, I was definitely older, and I needed to catch on a lot quicker than the other kids that have been doing this since they were little. And fortunately I did, and we moved on.
Now speaking of, having to catch on, how much of a difference was it for you to go from motocross to go to go-karts?
Oh, it was huge. Everything was different. It was just going from standing up on a dirt bike to sitting down in a go-kart, and it didn't seem as serious as it was to the other kids, to me, because I was like, okay, this is kind of nothing. We're not going like that fast, and I'm not. And if I crash, all I'm going to do is hit those tires. I'm not going to hit the dirt. So what really could go wrong? So it was a little bit fearless and a little bit, reckless, and we got told a couple of times that we needed to calm down and that stuff can happen, and but at the time we didn't realize it. But I had to catch on and understand what I was doing and what everything was going on.
Do you think that helped you be a little bit more, or be successful a little bit quicker because you didn't think about those things, and so you were able to or willing to push it maybe a little bit farther than the other drivers were out there?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Because like I had said, is what was the worst that was going to happen? I'm going to go off the end of the track and I'm going to hit these tire barriers, and those tires are soft. So, and I'm not going to end up knocking myself out on the dirt. So yeah, I was able to push myself a little harder and go a little faster and whatnot than the other kids that when that's all they knew. They were timid and they had to work their way up through the up to speed, as where I was already at speed when I started.
Now, from there you went to the Open Wheel Series in 2008 and got you the Rookie of the Year and 7th in the points. How much of an adjustment was that to go from the go-karts to the Open Wheel Series for you?
That was huge. I still remember my first race till today. It was at DeSoto Speedway down in Bradenton, Florida, and I knew what I was doing at that point, but I didn't know to save tires or that you could pass somebody on the outside. I was always hitting people and moving them out of the way. And I had a older gentleman named Doug Hopper. He was a veteran of the series. He came down to me and was like, look, when you do this, you're going to have to slow down and strategically pass people, not just hit them and knock them up out of the way. And throughout that year, I learned a lot. And we had a lot of DNFs due to, the car just broke all the time. It seemed like we could never finish a race. And but whenever we did run, we ran good top 5.
Beating everybody with your car, of course you're not going to finish.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely and the stupid stuff would happen. I remember one race we were leading and the oil cap fell off the top of the valve cover. So it leaked oil everywhere and we ended up having to pull off. So it was just stupid stuff like that kept us from, winning or running up front all the time.
Now, in the Open Wheel Series, what did that teach you more that the go-karts or the motocross didn't teach you?
It taught me, that these are bigger and that these can hurt you and they are a lot faster. And it was more of a organized race, and everybody was a little bit more professional in it. Although it was a hobby to them, it was still, my dream.
Yeah.
So it was, time to take it, really serious and focus on what I was doing, and definitely made for a good year and a good year after that as well.
Now, at 16, you transitioned into sprint cars. Now, out of all the cars that I've seen, either personally at a track or watched on TV, I think sprint cars probably scared me the most. It's a lot of horsepower, and we've unfortunately seen and heard of a lot of accidents and also deaths over the last handful of years when it comes to sprint cars. How did you tackle that monster? Is it as scary as I picture it, or is it not really that bad to be in the car? First of all, second of all, how did you tackle that monster? Because that's a lot of horsepower in those cars.
No, yeah, definitely, and they're so light, so the horsepower to weight ratio is just unbelievable. But I always liked watching them, and I always thought they were a blast to drive. And I think, being young, going, to the local tracks and watching them made me want to get in one. For some reason, I was just extremely attracted to them. And we had a good friend of ours, let me practice one day. And then I came off the track and I told Dad, I said, Dad, sell that modified because I'm not getting back in it. And and then he's like, oh, okay. So we worked on selling it and getting us a sprint car together, and I felt most at home in the sprint car. I felt like, that was more my pace and more my style of racing. So so I excelled at it fairly quick. And we started out on pavement. Pavement sprint cars was where I really started. And I felt like it was, I was right at home. It didn't, of course, at first, the power and everything is going to, startle you. But from there on, I felt, yeah, this is where I want to be and this is what I want to do. This is my style. And we just took it from storm on there.
Now, you accomplished all that by the age of 16 and transitioned into the sprint cars at 16. Now, I want to take a step back before we continue on with your career and get to know you. What was that like being a kid and doing all this? you got so many kids that, go out and play in the play. Well, unfortunately now everybody sits around and plays video games. But growing up in my generation, it was outside playing basketball or in the neighborhood playing football or hanging out with your friends after school or getting to go to proms or homecoming or, hang out or whatever the case may be. What was it like for you trying to, to pursue your dream and have this career in racing and manage having somewhat of a social life, if you even did that, with school and possibly having a job if you had have a job at a young age? I know my first job, I was 16 years old. I don't know, everybody else's, scenario. But how was that all trying to jumble all that together for you?
For me, it wasn't as hard as people think it was because I was kind of a quiet kid in school. I had my select group of friends, and luckily one of my best friends in high school was he drove modifieds as well, down in Florida. So we could always sit there and talk about racing, but and people ask always, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do when you get out of high school? Because that's one of the the main things that teachers ask you about or want to know. What your direction in life was. And I just, said I want to be a race car driver. But that was all I really said because they looked at me like I was a kindergartner. You know what I mean? Like I said, I want to be an astronaut. So, I just kind of left it at that and didn't really pay them any mind or try to explain it to them because, unless they know the sport or unless they know the behind the scenes, they don't really care to know or, or know what it takes, or what I really meant. So, I just kind of kept to myself, and the people that knew me knew what I wanted to do, and the people that didn't know me didn't know. So that was the kind of way I approached everything.
Now, to include the K&N Pro Series that you the races that you've done, you've got to see multiple types of tracks, and you've obviously been on dirt and asphalt. So I'm curious to know, one, do you feel more natural or prefer dirt versus asphalt? And then secondly, what kind of track is your preference? The small, 3/8 half-mile track, the mile track, the super speedways, whatever that you felt most comfortable on both those questions?
I feel probably most at home on pavement because that's where I grew up. Dirt is definitely more fun. I definitely have a blast on dirt. But I feel more at home on pavement because that's where I really came up, and grew up doing. So I just feel like I spent most of my time on the pavement. And my favorite tracks, I really, not just because I won there, but I really like the tracks, like Dover or Bristol or Iowa. Iowa's one of my favorites. I just like the way it races. You can roll off in the corner and everybody fans out. That's one of my favorites. So I would say probably the bigger tracks, the ones that have more speed, because me coming from sprint cars to stock cars was like everything slowed down, and it was, driving a 1,500-pound car with, 800 horsepower going to 700 horsepower, 3,100-pound car. So everything slowed down a lot for me. And I think I excel the most at the bigger tracks.
Now, do you think that having the opportunity in your past to be on the dirt tracks, is it helped you in your career now on the asphalt?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Being on the dirt really taught me to move around, and you have to on dirt to be able to go fast, and that's what I try to do in the pavement, Past weekend at New Smyrna, we ran, we had a test day, and I would, roll off in the second groove and just see if it works when nobody else would. So, I feel like the dirt has really just, helped me a lot. And then, when I feel like if you grow up only on asphalt and you feel the car get a little sideways or a little out of shape, you tend to panic more. And then in dirt, that's all you are is sideways and out of shape. So I feel like, me coming from dirt is when the car does get out of shape, I don't panic as much, or my heart rate doesn't spike as much as others.
Now, you were part of the Drive for Diversity program, and it was one of the winners, and obviously it helped excel you to where you're at this point. One, how big of a deal was it for you and your family for you to get selected and win, and how much of an impact has it been on your career?
It's a huge impact. It's somewhere that my family, they don't make $5 million a year to be able to put me in a car like a lot of the others. So it was a huge break for me and the family, and to put me somewhere that I would have never been without it. Without Rev Racing and the Drive for Diversity Combine, I wouldn't be here today. I would probably still be back in Florida racing sprint cars. So it's definitely it's a huge impact, and it's definitely got me where I am today by far.
Now, was you with Rev Racing last year when you ran in the K&N Pro Series, or was you amongst another team when you were running?
No, I was with Rev Racing. I'm with the same exact team, the same exact group of guys as I was last year.
So going into this season, and looking back at last season and going into this season, what differences do you feel are going to help? In other words, what do you feel that you learned from last year that's going to help you excel this year?
Probably the number one thing is confidence. Last year was my first full year in a stock car, and I felt like I spent the whole year learning, which was good, but I wanted results at the same time, and learning and getting results is hard to do. So this year, I believe confidence and knowing what we need to be able to go fast for all of the laps is definitely something that we've taken into play for this year, definitely.
Now, how much of a confident booster was it for you to finish the season last year with the win? I mean, not only that, at Virginia you had a 4th place finish. Yes, Richmond was a 17th place finish, but then you finished the rest of the season up with a win. How much confidence does that build for you? Finish the season on such a high note.
It was huge. I felt like. I'm one of the veterans. I'm still a sophomore, but I feel like I'm one of the veterans of the series now because there are so many rookies, and that just gives me an advantage. Going to these tracks and racing these cars for a full year. But it was huge. It was also huge for my team. They know that that they have a driver and they have the equipment to be able to win, and it's just huge. Everybody came into New Smyrna, expecting to run really, really well, which we started out running really well. We ran 5th for the first 60 laps, and I felt that's where we needed to be, and that's where the team is. And unfortunately, we found out today that, we got in a debacle on the second restart down in Turn 1, and it basically unhooked our sway bar. The pin came out from the sway bar link, so we went backwards pretty quick, but we still managed, an 11th place finish. So last year we would have been happy with an 11th, but this year, it was a bit of a disappointment.
And I do got to compliment you for, last year being your first season in K&N Pro to complete 98.1% of the laps and have 3 top 10s with one of them being a win. That's definitely an impressive way to kind of put your name out there and also show that how good the product is over at Rev Racing, and definitely give other drivers that get this opportunity to know that, look, this team has definitely got the equipment. Now I need to make sure that I bring my A game, because obviously this team has got the product to produce for us. The 11th place finish, that was the Sunday race.
Yeah, that was Sunday night.
2016. What's outside of obviously winning another race and outside of winning the championship? Because obviously that's the first 2 goals every driver has. Put those aside for a second. What other goals do you have for 2016 to help better yourself as a driver?
Basically, do the same thing we did last year, but better. If we can run consistent top 5, consistent top 7, I feel like, I just need the experience of running up front and leading, obviously, because leading is hard to do. People think it's easy, but, you're always thinking about who's coming behind you or whatnot. And then basically, getting, even better with my team. I feel like we're close enough as it is now, but, the more we race and the more feedback I give, the more the crew chief knows what to do and how I like things. And, the more races we run, the better off we're going to be. And just also me running, some more stock car races, because I only have a full season of K&N under my belt. And I talked to a good friend of mine Sunday night, and he was like, yeah, we were talking about, the other drivers, and he's like, Harrison Burton's, I don't even know, I think he's 14 or 15, and he's like, he's got, 3 times as many stock car starts as you do. And I said, and that really, made me look back and, yeah, I'm still kind of a rookie to this. So just basically, bettering myself, as a driver is, and still we need to complete all the laps, and that's what's going to put us, towards the front of the points at the end of the year.
Well, I tell you what, 98.1% of all the laps, that's already, you complete, I don't know if you know this stat or not, or how much you actually know of your stats, but 697 out of 1,697 out of 1,730. So you missed 33 laps all of last season. That's almost all the laps. That's pretty impressive, and especially knowing that you crashed at Bristol and missed 25 laps. You figure the other 13 races you missed a total of 8 laps out of all the possible. That's some impressive stuff right there. I want to take a moment before we get you out of here. I want to take a moment to kind of step away from the racing a second. I want the fans to be able to kind of get to know you a little bit more on a personal level. Midweek. Say Wednesday, Thursday, nothing going on. Well, let's take Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, you're starting to get back to where you need to be. Tuesday, Wednesday, you have nothing going on. Got an hour, maybe the evening to have personal time. Get a chance to clear your mind, recharge your batteries, get yourself, kind of get past whatever happened the week before. If it's a win, if it's a wreck, whatever the case may be, but not quite ready to get yourself in the process of thinking about next weekend's race. Just want to clear everything. What do you do to if you have that opportunity to kind of clear your brain, recharge everything, and get yourself ready for the next weekend?
There's 2 things that I do, and that I do all week, and especially one is mountain bike. I love to do it. I actually like taking things apart, like my mountain bike, and putting it back together and then going riding it. That's fun to me. I'm not really that exciting. And then other is I race RC cars religiously. It's very important to me, and it's something that I do, that I've been doing since I was 12 years old. And I've nationally ranked, down in Florida before, racing RC cars. So every Wednesday I'm usually trying to go to Speed RC up in Mooresville, owned by Scott Speed, and race RC cars. That's what I do.
And we had a track that was in our hometown. Now it's our booster center. Unfortunately, by the time I actually got the money, because it was like when I was really young, probably not even probably pre-teen. So by the time I finally got the money together to get a serious RC car to be actually out there, there was not enough of an attraction in our hometown to keep that track alive. And like I said, it ended up rotating into a few other things before it came to the booster center, and that's where they hold the prom and homecoming and all the other stuff now. I like that. I think that's the first time I've heard anybody say that either one of those 2 things, especially mountain biking in Florida. I would have never put those 2 together. But say it's kind of in the same direction. Say you got a whole weekend off. Say you know you got everything lined up. You don't have to worry about your ride situation. Ain't got to worry about sponsor. The Rev Racing said, look, you excelled beyond our expectations, and this weekend we want you to just kind of take the weekend off. What would you go do on a weekend that you just had a free weekend to kind of do whatever you wanted to do?
I live in North Carolina now, so probably I do one or two things. Either probably putting the mountain bike aside because that's like my week thing. I just do that whenever I'm bored. But I'd probably go find an RC car race or head down to Florida and visit. My dad still lives down there. My girlfriend of 7 years still lives down there. So I'd probably go down there and hang out if I had a weekend off and didn't have to worry about anything. So I'd either do one or two things. Yeah, that's about it.
Now, speaking that you have a girlfriend in Florida, and also speaking of the fact that you moved from Florida to North Carolina, one, how difficult has that been? I would assume more for her than you. You're pursuing your dream, and let's face it, you're a guy, and guys are not as emotional and everything else. They tend to wear that armor. So one, how difficult has it been for her, especially with this long-term relationship and now all this distance? But also, how much of a culture change was it for you from going from Florida to North Carolina?
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough, I think, the first part of the year. It was tough because we did live together for the past 2 or 3 months before I moved. And so it was hard. And but I think now that, we both want, a goal, and that's, for me and her to live a good life and do what we love. And I think now everything's okay, and we try to see each other as much as possible. She tries to go to all the races and support me as much as she can.
Was it a big culture change for you from going to Florida to North Carolina? I visit Florida a lot, and I know the weather's kind of funky there, but also being in North Carolina, we know that we can see all 4 seasons in a day here. So was it much of a culture change when it comes to the way of life and the weather and everything else going from Florida to North Carolina for you?
No, yeah, absolutely. It was huge because I lived in Florida. It's where I grew up. It's where I went to school. It's where I learned how to drive. Everything that, you do as a kid and in life, I moved when I was 21 years old. And I knew everything that there was to do down in Tampa or down in Florida. And I had a good group of friends and, but it was a huge culture change. I knew all the roads. Now I have to relearn, where to go. And I still use GPS sometimes up there because I'm still lost. And, but it was huge, but it's what we have to do as race car drivers. And, if we want to reach a certain goal, there's sacrifices that we have to make.
Okay. And you know what? I got to do media coverage down at Homestead last season, and I tell you what, I'll go back again. But getting down, I'm a conservative driver. I don't like going maybe 5 over the speed limit, and I like leaving 2 or 3 car lengths in between me and the next guy. And getting down there towards the track and getting down there in Miami, and next thing I know, there's 10 lanes. And I'm doing 70, and actually I think we're doing about 90 and a 70, trying to keep up with traffic, and still being blown by everybody, and the lack of turn signals or even respect that someone's in the lane and they just come on top of you. I'll go back to the race, but I tell you what, Miami was not my idea of a fun time. When it comes to driving, it was more of Shorty, the person I stay with. She's from Florida, and that was more her likings. That's what she was used to because she grew up in Florida. But that was not me, and you have no idea how nerve-wracking it was for me to be down there. So I can understand the culture shock and everything else, and just different ways of life. One more thing before we get you out of here. I love always being curious with this. And you might have one answer. I'm a little bit older, so I have two answers. My two answers was Bill Elliott when I was younger, and now I'm a big Kyle Busch / Dan Fitzpatrick fan. But my question to you is, growing up, who did you idolize? Who was your favorite driver? And if they retired or no longer with us or whatever the case was, and you have a new driver or maybe you just switched, then you might have two answers. But if you have one, just give me that answer.
I have two because I did grow up, racing motocross. I and that's what I looked up to as a little kid. So I have a favorite motocrosser and a favorite driver, if you don't mind.
Oh, is it?
Probably it would be Jeremy McGrath for motocross. He's kind of the icon of the sport, and every little kid that raced dirt bikes wanted to be him. And my favorite driver now is probably Kyle Busch, I would have to say. It's a toss-up between Kyle Busch and Casey Kane for me. So those two are definitely the two I cheer for, on race day.
Well, when it comes to racing and what we saw out of Kyle Busch last year, as a driver, how impressed. I know you guys get to see a lot of things, and so maybe it is not as impressive to you guys as it would be to us, but watching the crash that he had and knowing that the physical damage that happened to him, and then he turned around 10 weeks later, he's only missed I think 9 races, and to put on the dominant performance that he did the rest of the season to include winning championship, to an outsider that's impressive. And that shows pure athleticism and overcoming a lot of odds. As a driver, is it as impressive to you? And if so, how impressed was you with what Kyle Busch was able to accomplish after that unfortunate wreck at Daytona in the Xfinity Series?
Yeah, I don't think him coming back, anybody saw him as a threat at first. None of us really saw it coming. Even the commentators, I remember them saying that it's going to probably take him a couple races to get back in the swing, which was not true. He came out swinging, and as a driver, you don't think about getting hurt again or ever. It's always in the back of your mind, but you never really think about it. So that part of it, I think that it wasn't as hard for him as people may think. Although his injuries were pretty substantial, and he does now have a kid, so that changes a lot. But it was very, very, very impressive. Nobody saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. I don't even think Joe Gibbs saw it coming. But he went out there and put down an impressive, last half of the year and won that thing pretty good. So definitely impressive.
Well, as you can see, Colin, if given the opportunity, I could sit here and talk to you all day long. I don't want to keep you no longer. I done kept you a lot longer than I was expecting to or was supposed to anyway. But I definitely want to thank you for giving us your time. It's always cool to be able to meet the up-and-coming stars of the NASCAR series and just get an opportunity to talk to you guys and build relationships with all the drivers that we've gotten to be able to do this with. And I definitely want to wish you luck on the 2016 season and moving forward on the rest of your career. I definitely will be keeping an eye out for you as they rebroadcast these races. And I want to thank NBC for the excellent job that they do of giving you guys the TV time that they give you guys and an opportunity for us fans to be able to see the K&N Pro Series, the ARCA Series, and all the other series we don't normally used to get to see. Now we get to see. But definitely want to thank you for coming on. Definitely want to wish you luck. Looking forward to having you back on the show, and hopefully we'll be talking to you real soon.
Definitely, yes. Good time.
Good luck, and keep in touch, and you have a great night.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You too.
Sir, that was Colin, another one of those up-and-coming stars that we definitely keep our eye on in the K&N Pro E-Series. Always a blast having these drivers on. Like I said, normally, and this goes out to all our guests. I want to thank y'all because, you sit there and watch ESPN, you sit there and watch Fox Sports. You know, most of those times they're on 5-10 minutes, and the athlete's gone on their way. I got to 100% genuinely thank each and every last one of our guests, because I think there might have been one guest one time that I didn't get a full 30 minutes with. And I knew that ahead of time. You know, and I'm not just saying, out of 2 years of guests, there's only been one. And everybody else is at least giving me 30 minutes. We had BJ McLeod last week in the Infinity Series. We went a whole hour. This was 45 minutes with Colin. Not everybody gets that opportunity. Not everybody gets a chance to sit down and have one-on-one time with an athlete and get 30 minutes or get 45 minutes or hell, even get an hour. So, you know, for all the drivers and all the athletes that we have had come on this show, you know, I genuinely want to thank you, because you know, you give me and give the 110 Nation and our listeners an opportunity to get to know more about you, get to know more about the sport, get to know more about what it's like, the path, and to have that insight and help the fans understand the sacrifices, what it actually takes to be an athlete. I honestly think there's a lot of people on this road that think you guys wake up and you guys are just gifted with the opportunity of being an athlete, and, you know, that's kind of the end of it. And you go out there and you drive a car, or you go out and play hockey, or go out and shoot hoops, and, you know, you're great at it, and there's no struggles, there's no path to getting there, there's no, you know, just with Colin's story, there's no motocross, then go-karts, then open wheels, then sprint car, then stock car. They just assume you wake up one day and say, you know what, I want to be a stock car driver, and you go turn laps for a race team. That's not how it works. And to get that opportunity to not only get the insight on what it actually takes and what it's actually like to be a race car driver, or any athlete for that matter, but to get to know your path. And you know, and I know part of it, the athletes come on, it is kind of a selfish reason, and I'm not calling you selfish, but, you know, you're kind of building your brand, and you're in hopes coming on, you know, and being part of a TV show, radio show, whatever the case may be, any kind of interview. And I hate using the word interview, because I feel like we just sit here and talk. I don't feel like it's ever really an interview. Yes, I'm asking questions, but, you know, I feel more of it's a conversation back and forth. But, you know, part of you doing this is to help build your brand and get your name out there, and, you know, let people know, you know, how they can, you know, be more involved with your career. But, you know, it's kind of a give and take situation. I think we discussed this before. You know, we also bring you on because we're intrigued with your career and intrigued with what you're doing, and want to know more about you genuinely. But at the same time, we know you coming on the show is also going to make other people listen to the show that normally maybe wouldn't listen to the show. And so, you know, everybody's kind of got their selfishness in this whole scenario. But, you know, I can't express how genuinely appreciative I am to have this opportunity. You know, when we started doing this, you know, honestly, I thought, you know, we would get, you know, a few people here and a few people there to come on the show, and it would be, you know, a 10-minute opportunity here or a 15-minute opportunity there. And you're going to have to mislead. There's been many times I might look, you know, if, you know, they only got 10, 15 minutes, we'll take it. You know, and a lot of times when I reach out to people, I'll originally say, you know, if you got 10, 15 minutes or, you know, you don't got that time, we can work a way to pre-record, because I know how it is. I know how valuable everybody's time is. You know, I might not be an athlete, I might not have practice, or I might not have, you know, meetings or you know, sponsor commitments and all this other stuff. But, you know, at the same time, I have, you know, a real job, and I have a family life, and, you know, I have other responsibilities outside of the show just with the 110 alone. And so I know how valuable everybody's time is, and I never want to take that for granted, nor do I ever want to come into a show unprepared, because I know how valuable the time is, and there would be nothing worse for me to show up into a show and really have nothing to say and no clue, and kind of waste their time that's valuable to them nor waste, the fans' time for tuning into the show that's valuable to them. So, to have this opportunity, in every aspect of it, I genuinely cannot express how sincere I am when I say that I appreciate every athlete that has come onto this show. Because one, we're not the Fox Sports and the ESPNs that have the millions on top of millions of listeners. Yes, between all our networks and sites and social media, we're probably, I know there's no probably, we're in the couple of hundreds of thousands, but we're not on that level as ESPN and Fox Sports. And it's very easy to turn down an opportunity to come on to some local show versus waiting out for an opportunity on a bigger show, or even the NBC Sports or the CBS Sports or everybody else that is out there. So I definitely thank my lucky stars every day. We got guests lined up tomorrow, and I bet you Miss Lee's probably gonna have somebody lined up before the end of the week. Sunday night show, the Dirt Talk Hour. I have no idea what it was like for us on Saturday night. Sunday night. It was the studio was lit up with people calling in, listening to the show. We had people come on the show. It's phenomenal to be sitting here with this opportunity, knowing that we're nowhere where we want to be. Yes, we're slowly but surely growing every single week. I love having the opportunity. I'm a numbers man. And if you guys ain't figured out yet by the contracts that I break down when they come in, and the amount they get paid per minute and the amount they get paid per game and per day and everything else, I'm a very statistical, number-oriented person. So I love, being able to every week, I'm not going to lie, every day sit down and look at numbers. And that's part of my daily routine, but even more monthly or weekly and monthly. But just to know that, we are blessed with an opportunity to have these talented athletes, and to know that we average about one athlete a show on average. Some days we have 3, some days we have none, some days, we have 4 or 5. We've had a plethora of athletes on the show at one time, and to know that not only do we get the opportunity to sit down and talk to these athletes and get to know these athletes, but to know that they're so willingly giving of their time. And not just come on the show for 5-10 minutes. Like, it's all the time you got. I take it. I'm just glad that you took the opportunity to come on and talk to me. But to know that all but I think 1 in 2 years was able to give me at least 30 minutes, you have no idea. You thought I was impressed by the fact that Colin's first year in the K&N Pro Series, he completed 98.1% of, I want to say it was 98.1. I know it was 98 point something. It's either 1 or 3. Now that I'm thinking about it, now I'm kind of on the fence. Was it 1% or 98.1 or 98.3? But if you thought I was impressed with the fact that he was able to complete 98.1%, yeah, I was right, of his laps in his first season in the K&N Pro Series, that is nowhere to compare the percentage of how many guests we've had that have stuck out and hung out for at least 30 minutes versus the ones that did not. That's saying a lot, and it also says a lot of how many guests that come on the show. And I don't know if anybody over there Rev Racing is listening at this point, especially since Colin is not on the show anymore. But I personally want to shout out, and Miss Lee has expressed her thankfulness to me as well. But I definitely want to shout out to Rev Racing and for all the opportunities they have given us. Rev Racing has kind of opened their doors to us, and it is making accessibility to their drivers and their programming, getting to know a little bit more about Rev Racing, to include, sending us press releases and everything else. I got to thank you from the bottom of my heart to have just one more stepping stone, one more organization be willing to open their doors to us and making us part of the community. It's one domino at a time that we got to knock over before we eventually accomplish what we want to accomplish here at the 110. And that's beyond 24 hours a day. That is having an actual building with a writing staff that's we're knocking out piece after piece. That is us, be able to provide opportunities for those that want to pursue a career in either sports radio broadcast or sports radio writing, whatever the case may be. We have pretty lofty goals and where we see this going. And, the first 3 years, really, probably total about 3.5 years, we kind of have half-stepped it. And a lot of it had to do with I didn't know what I was doing. And other part of it is I did not have, the backbone that I have now. Having Miss Lee, having Chris Creighton from YellowCautionFlag.com, real good site that he helps with, and he's the co-host of the Sunday night show, the Dirt Talk Hour. Make sure you check out their site. Make sure that you guys check out the Sunday night show. To have Steve Billmeyer, used to crew chief, Jeff O'Dine, Tim Richmond, Jimmy Johnson, amongst many, and also had his own race team. To have Damian Bean, who knows just about anybody and everybody in the Midwest when it comes to dirt track racing. To have these pieces, to have this support, and that's what we're working with. Just 4 of us, able to do everything that gets accomplished, that is getting accomplished. It's one of those things why I constantly put out, and I can't leave out Izzo, and I know Izzo's listening right now, and I totally dropped the ball on that. I would not have an NHL presence on the radio if it was not for Izzo. And I'm doing the Wayne and Garth, I'm not worthy right now, and I am apologizing. I almost slipped down. I don't even know if he's listening. I'm assuming 4 minutes till. Usually he's calling in at this point already. And I'm going to just go ahead and put my head down right now if he's listening. So I'm going to go ahead and bow down now in shame there. But without this crew, we would not accomplish where we want to eventually be. And, that's why I constantly put out every show that if you're interested in joining the 110 Nation, if it be help co-host or be an expert such as Izzo, we're getting ready to get him on, or if you got a show and you really want to rebroadcast it on our network, or if you're a writer, we would love to make our written side of the house more of a presence. That's why we put it out there, because we're constantly growing. I can't express what I get to see on not only a week-to-week and a month-to-month basis, but even on a daily basis, what I get to see and the connections we make and the people we get to have on the show. And it's getting to a point now that, as our fan base keeps growing and the shows keep growing, we're on like 20 and a half hours of the week already. We got to increase the staff to be able to hit all those aspects that our listeners and our fans and our readers are wanting to be able to take away from the 110 Nation. And that's why we constantly put that out there. And I'll plug that at the end of the show in case you're interested. But I just wanted to take a moment to just thank the athletes that have come on the show, because you guys help make this company and this show be what it is. And, to know that, you give us 30 minutes of your nights and come on the show, I cannot be more thankful for. And then, like I said, Rev Racing, I hope you guys are still listening, and I know there's a good possibility that you guys are not, and I'll express, my appreciation a little bit more on Twitter after the show. But I can't thank you guys enough over there, Rev Racing, for kind of opening your to us and, giving us an opportunity to talk to your drivers and an opportunity to be part of your media outlets when you guys have stuff to go out. And, I just want to thank everybody from the very top all the way down to the very bottom over there, because you guys help make everything that we do here a possibility, and I cannot be thankful enough. Before we get into one, I want to make sure that if you guys want to check us out on Twitter, you can check me out at CJ Sports One. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. You can also follow Izzo on on Twitter at 110 Puckhead as well, and I'm going to give him an opportunity to plug that as well anyway. You can follow you can check me out on my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports on Facebook. You can check out the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site over at www.the110nationsports.com, or you can also check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Without any further delay, we have the most knowledgeable guy that there is possibly ever going to be when it comes to NHL, joining us right now at 10:30 here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. Izzo is the man. Love having the opportunity to sit down with him every Tuesday night, spend about 30 minutes talking some hockey. Izzo, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Jay. Had a pretty good weekend. Went out and played some ice hockey on Cleveland on Fort Bragg this past Sunday. So glad to see some of the guys were allowed to come out of the house on Valentine's Day and shave some ice and slap some puck around.
I know you had to enjoy the opportunity to get back out there on the ice. I'm glad that you was able to have that opportunity. I know with life, you don't get to see that ice as much as you would like to, so I'm glad you got the chance to get out there and have a little fun. So that's always good to hear. Before we jump into this, give them what they need to know to be able to have some heated debates, fun conversations, and just maybe learn a little bit more about hockey.
Hey, you can follow me at 110 Puckhead. Chat me up, tweet me up. We got the Stadium Series this weekend. I kind of like some of the jersey schemes that we got going on for the Blackhawks and the, as we should say, the Wild, or a.k.a. the North Stars of yesteryears. So tweet me up at 110 Puckhead. Let's debate. Let's talk some hockey.
What you got on the schedule tonight to talk about?
Well, we had a couple milestones being reached within the last couple weeks. Pavel Datsyuk reached his 900th point the other night versus Boston in a 6-5 win for the Red Wings. So that was a pretty entertaining game to watch all in itself. Datsyuk has been around the league now since the early 2000s, has won a couple of cups in Detroit, has been injury-plagued last few years here and there, but still going strong in the mid-30s like he is right now, one of the true leaders next to Zetterberg in that Red Wing locker room, and they seem poised to be making another playoff appearance, which I do believe will put them at 25 straight years of making the postseason. So congratulations to Pavel Datsyuk. Sidney Crosby, hometown favorite of many of my friends back home, reached his 900th point back on February 6th. I kind of missed that little thing last week. My bad on that one. I should have been paying more close attention to that. But yes, Crosby reached his 900th career point in a couple weeks ago, so congratulations to him. Probably I think he was the fastest player to 900 points, if I'm not mistaken, if I read that correctly. Congratulations to him. Just, getting to 900 goals or 900 points is something, not even the most basic or average hockey player will hit 5 or maybe 400 points. So these guys really know how to put the puck in net, really know how to create chances for their team, give their teams chances to win, have been to the big dance, have won the big dance, have played on the Olympic stages for their respective countries of Russia and Canada. So congratulations to these two. These two are going to be, Datsuk's going to be a surefire Hall of Famer. His innovation of the game, his shootout abilities, now that the end of the OT goes into a shootout, he really kind of changed that with the hands that he possesses and everything. And even his training regimen, Jay. This guy, Datsuk, he's like the Jerry Rice of the NHL, as I would put it. Constantly training, constantly, working on stuff, stick handling, shooting ability. He's developed many of pieces of training equipment to practice with, some that is not even open to the public. So Datsuk is, he was one of those players that really changed the game a little bit, especially with the way his speed was, being one of the best defensive forwards in the league. Has won countless trophies, Lady Bings, Selkies, scoring. He's been up there in scoring titles. So Datsuk has had an astonishing career, and hopefully we get to see him for a few more years playing some good hockey in Detroit, and hopefully we get to see him retire as a Red Wing, Jay.
I'm glad you went into detail about that, because that was going to be my first question. I know what it's like to accomplish like 30,000 points in the NBA, or score a certain amount of points in the NFL. But being someone that traditionally hadn't grown up being a big hockey fan, I was kind of curious how big of a milestone 900 points is, and how many people have accomplished this past. So. I was glad that you kind of went into that, because that was going to be my first question.
Yeah, some guys, if you look at John Scott is a primary example. He's 33, he's been playing only 5 goals in his career. So, it's hard enough to score in the NHL, but to get 900 points, that's just something astonishing in itself. Datsuk being more of the sniper, he could put that puck anywhere he wanted to. So he gave goalies nightmares back in the day. Still kind of gives them a little bit of night terrors here and there, even though he's up in age and everything like that. But he's still producing points. He's still among the team lead in points. He's always up there scoring goals, putting points up. And he's only going to help sharpen the skills of the young guys like Tatar and not Tatar, but Dylan Larkin, Danny DeKaiser. These guys are going to learn things from Pavel Datsuk and everything like that. So Dylan Larkin, was we all know, rookie, has the record, the NHL All-Star record for the fastest skater, and he's got some pretty good hands. And him being at 6'2", 205 pounds, 210 pounds. You take some of that, Pavel Datsuk magic dust or whatever you want to call it, sprinkle it on Dylan Larkin, you could create a pretty hellacious hockey player. So I imagine these boys are, on this Red Wing roster are pretty happy and pretty lucky and pretty blessed to be playing with guys like Datsuk and Zetterberg and, everybody like that. Those guys are they're the veterans of the locker room and veterans of the league. So, these guys, are just truly, truly blessed to play with a guy like Datsuk, Jay.
Also saw this week somebody turned 44 years old in the league. He ain't slowed down any, but definitely want to wish a happy birthday. How impressed are you still with Yamir, with the age and adding another year to his age, and how the Florida Panthers are still trucking along?
Well, we all saw last night Florida beat Pittsburgh in a 2-1 overtime shootout, which was a very good game. So Yager's still playing pretty good. He's bringing back the mullet. He's still scoring goals. I think he's sitting at like 17 goals right now. Somewhere around there, if I'm not mistaken. He's, up there in the team, one of the team leaders in points. This guy's a Superman. I don't know if he got the Captain America potion or, if he found the fountain of youth, Jay. I haven't seen a Yager play like this in quite some time, really. Yager, I do believe, is the last player from that was drafted in the 1990s. So that should say something about him too. But we can't also forget that when he left the first time, he went over back to his home land, the Czech Republic, owned a team and skated over there. So who's to say that if he plays another 2, 3, 4 years that he might just retire from the NHL and then go back home and keep playing. So. It's quite a wonder what Jaromir Jagr has accomplished this year in Florida. Turning 44 years old, 2 Stanley Cups, countless Art Ross scoring titles, MVP awards. Florida doesn't have the Jagr of the early 90s and everything when he was just almost unstoppable. But he's showing flashes that he can still put the puck in the net and he can still skate with the best of them. So he's on one of their top 2 lines. He sometimes gets a little bit of power play time. So he's really showing, Huberdeau and Barkov and all these young guys, and you got guys like Brian Campbell, who's an elder statesman. He's a nice offensive defenseman. That kind of helps. And Roberto Luongo and Al Montoya playing, exceptional goaltending right now. So it was all the Al Montoya show last night against Pittsburgh. So Montoya did pretty well, did fairly well throughout the game, did pretty well in the overtime, especially against scorers like, Hornquist and Kessel and Crosby and Letang, and, Pittsburgh heating up right now. So it was a very good game to watch, kind of heartbreaking for me. I missed the old number 68 and the black and gold and the mullet and the salute after every goal he scored, but it's just amazing to see what he's doing, at the age of 44 against guys that are, half his age, or 10 years younger than him, Jay. It's just amazing.
Well, most definitely. I couldn't imagine, one, being that physical at 44, but two, being that physical for so long in such a physical sport. I just couldn't imagine. There's days I wake up and I felt like a Mack truck just hit me. And I've never competed at the level he's competed. I just couldn't imagine doing it for as long as he has done it, and doing it at the age he is doing it. I can only imagine a bunch of bottles of icy hot Bengay at this point, trying to get.
Oh
God.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is he's not taking days off either. He's playing in those back-to-back games. He's playing in them stretches where in a week they have 4 or 5 games. He hasn't really missed a lot of hockey. So, hey, if he can stay healthy, going into the playoffs, Florida could be a very dangerous team to play. Barkov, with his new signing, he's gained a bunch of confidence, and he's scoring goals and putting up points left and right now. So Huberdeau is still Jonathan Huberdeau. He can put the puck in the net. They're just playing all good aspects of hockey right now. They're playing solid hockey, shorthanded, on the power play, 5-on-5. They're playing physical. They're scoring goals, and they get inside your head and they fluster you. And once they get you flustered, that's. You don't see it coming. They can score quick and in a hurry too, Jay.
Oh, and if you got some other big news that we got going on.
Yeah, so we got the Coors Light Stadium Series going on this weekend. I'm kind of excited for this one. This one is going to take place up in Minnesota. This is going to take place between the Minnesota Wild and the Chicago Blackhawks. This game will take place at TCF Bank Stadium up at the University of Minnesota, the Twin Cities campus. So this is going to be an exciting game. The Minnesota Wild have elected to go with the old school North Stars jersey that was the team's old logo back in the 90s and the late 80s and everything before they moved to Dallas. So Chicago is also going to be partaking in this. So this is pretty cool. I like the way that they do this. February 20th at 4 p.m., they're going to have the alumni game that's going to feature, Mike Modano, Chris Chelios, Jeremy Roenick, a bunch of the old school guys, old school Blackhawks and North Stars. Dino Ciccarelli is going to be another guy that's going to be featured in this game from Minnesota. So this is going to be a pretty cool thing to see, seeing all the old timers getting back into the jerseys, their respectable jerseys, and play one last friendly game and everything like that. So that's going to be pretty cool to watch, and that's going to take place at 4:00. February 21st, that's when the two teams will actually play, the Wild and the Blackhawks. So we'll see Parise and Koivu and Suter against Taves and Kane and Panarin and Crawford and all them guys. We're going to see that game on the following day on February 21st at 2:30 p.m. So that's going to be a pretty cool game to watch. So was watching a video where them constructing the ice rink inside the football stadium. So that was pretty cool to see over time lapse. So to see how that process is done, you can always go ahead and online and look that up. That's always something pretty cool to watch. Have them map out the rink and everything, and then start setting up the surface and the boards and the glass and everything, and then watching them, freeze the rink over and painting it is also pretty cool to watch over a time lapse. So you want to see something cool, go watch them build an outdoor rink. Thank you, Drunk Mike. I appreciate that. That's my co-star, Mike Spears, everybody. Appreciate that. So, no, it's a pretty cool video to go watch. You know, I if I could find one, I'll throw one up on the Twitter account so you guys can take a peek at that. But just something really cool, another outdoor game for the NHL. They try and play 2-3 a year. So I've already gotten word that there's going to be one taking place against Pittsburgh and Philly. I do believe that one's either going to take place at Heinz Field or it might take place at Penn State. I think it might take place at Heinz Field, just the way the things are going right now. So that's going to be pretty cool to see another interstate rivalry in another outdoor venue for next season. So I'm looking forward to that one too. So it's going to be a doozy this weekend with the Stadium Series, Jay. If you want, some of them old time puckheads. Remember the old guys from the North Stars and the Blackhawks from back in the day? Check it out. It's pretty cool to see your old heroes going back out, strapping up the skates and the pads and, playing a friendly game of outdoor hockey. And then the next day we'll see the actual game, and hopefully that one will be a lot more entertaining. Hopefully that one will definitely be a lot more physical. As the alumni game, these guys are going to be in their 50s and 60s still skating and everything like that. So we don't want to see a lot of violence in the alumni game. We don't want any hip fractures or hips broken or anything like that. So Sunday and Saturday and Sunday, these games are going to be pretty cool to watch, and I can't wait to watch them, Jay.
How long does it take them to turn something like Heinz Field into a hockey rink? How long of a process is that? Hours.
It's kind of an interesting, they map out where the rink's going to be. They map it out. They kind of get a feel of where, they center where they want the rink at. They line it up. They'll lay the surface down, put some sand down, and then put the other surface where they melt the ice down. And then they'll start putting up boards. They'll put they'll put a thin layer of ice on, paint it, put some more ice on it. And that's pretty much it. But it takes a long time for the construction part, especially just trying to get it centered and everything like that, and make sure everything's level. As we all know, some of these football stadiums, they have an arch, a mini arch in the middle to help the field drain and everything like that. The baseball fields that they do them on are pretty simple, especially with it being a completely flat surface, in the infield except for the pitcher's mound. And everything like that. So it does take quite a bit. I can imagine when they build this stadium or build the rink in the stadium that it's going to be pretty cold in Pittsburgh. I imagine it was pretty cold up in Minnesota in the construction of this one, especially with the weather they've had recently. So it was, like I said, it's a cool video to go watch. You can find it on YouTube or anything like that. So if you want to see something cool and how they build a rink, University of Michigan does it for their Wolverine games when they play games outdoors. I know they've played Michigan State outdoors. They've played quite a few schools outdoors. I'm pretty sure Ohio State was involved in one years back, if my memory serves me correctly. It's pretty cool to see just the way it's done, how many people are involved in it, because it takes quite a few people and a few smart engineers to figure everything out, Jay.
Now, the only thing that we need to watch, the team up north, also known as Michigan, the only thing we need to watch it with them is the Ohio State Buckeyes beat them tonight in basketball. That's the only thing anybody needs to watch right now. The Ohio State Buckeyes beating the Wolverines earlier tonight. And I know LeBron James gave the Ohio State Buckeye team some new shoes or whatever to sports. I didn't get into the whole story. I'm going to get into it after the show. But that's the only thing anybody out there listening needs to concern themselves with the Wolverine is the fact that Ohio State beat them earlier tonight. But anyway, back to the ice.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty exciting. Like I said, the next year's Stadium Series game, I'm looking forward between Pittsburgh and Philly. That interstate rivalry. So that's going to be a bloodbath I'm looking forward to. So it's going to be something interesting. So really looking forward to this weekend to see some old-time hockey players get back out there with some new gear and everything like that, and seeing how they can see if they still got it and everything like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these two games this weekend, Jay.
Cool. And I hope to be able to have an opportunity to sit down and watch that video, because I think that would be cool to sit there and watch. I just can only imagine. I've sat there and watched the video when the Lakers and the Clippers played on the same day, to watch them take the Lakers court and turn it, change it all over and turn it into the Clippers court for a home game. And it was one of those things that's just really cool to be able to sit and watch. And so, of course, I'm going to find myself sitting there watching this video, because just watching them prepare for a game and all the preparation that goes into it is always a fun thing and interesting to learn about.
Yep. And speaking of preparation, we were only about a week and a half, 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. We got some names that are been popping up left and right that I've been paying attention to. As we all know, Eric Stahl and Cam Ward are rumored to be on the trade deadline list right now. So another name that popped up, Michael Boddicker, who plays for Arizona as of right now. He is definitely being looked at, or not being looked at, being shopped around for potential teams to be, making a playoff push. So rumor has it, the latest rumors that I've been seeing is Mr. Boddicker could be making an appearance in Chicago. Chicago is in need of a top left winger right now, especially on their first or second line, one who can score. Boddicker definitely would fit that role quite well, either playing with Taves or whoever. So Chicago is looking to be buyers right now. Marian Hossa has kind of been injured here last couple months. He's been injured here and there, nothing too serious. But it looks like he's starting to get up there in age too now. So hopefully he can stay healthy together, because Chicago's going to need a healthy Marian Hossa. Hossa's a point getter, goal scorer, however you look at it. Hossa is one of the most dangerous players in the league, today, even back in the the days of Ottawa and when Atlanta was still the Thrashers. So Hossa's going to have to be healthy for Chicago to do very well. The goaltending has been pretty stellar for Chicago this year, better than it was last year, for them to make the run that they did last year. So all fingers are pointing that Chicago's going to be buyers this trade deadline. So that's one team I'm looking for to make a big move. Other teams that have been reportedly interested in trying to acquire Boddicker, Detroit has maybe shown some interest. Washington I've seen maybe one or two articles that Washington might be interested in another left winger. So there's going to be a lot of fireworks going around here, especially with guys like Andrew Ladd, possibly Zdeno Chara, and Eric Stahl, Cam Ward. Maybe you might see, somebody try and make a ridiculous 9-man, 7-man, 3-team trade. We might see one of those coming up here soon. The big Dion Phaneuf trade was a prime example of that, especially to get the ball rolling, before the trade deadline. So looking for quite a few teams to maybe try and acquire some more firepower to stock up for the playoff runs that they're going to make. Like I said, Chicago, and with Anaheim, struggling right now, they might be sellers here at the trade deadline. We could see, a potential, somebody, we could see anybody go, really. It doesn't matter if you have 1 year left on your contract or 4 years or 5 years. We've seen it before. David Perron could get moved again, who's been moved as of quite recently, quite a bit of times, from Edmonton, or to Edmonton, from Edmonton to Pittsburgh, from Pittsburgh out west to, Anaheim and everything like that. So we could see a lot of potential buyers. I see the Rangers as buyers right now too, trying to stock up their defense. And if they are buyers, they got one big piece in Keith Yandle. Keith Yandle is a D-man. He's an offensive defenseman, can bring the boom from the point and everything like that. So it's he could be on the trade block as well. He carries a pretty healthy cap hit. He's definitely one of the higher paid defensemen in the league right now, and he could definitely help a team. So it's going to be pretty pretty crazy. This is by far one of the craziest trade deadline countdowns that I've encountered in recent years. So it's definitely going to be an interesting couple of weeks. I feel we might see a few big names being changed around, going to different cities to try and capture a cup. Shane Doan is another guy on the list right now, captain of the Arizona Coyotes, has spent his entire career in Arizona, even and did a little time in Winnipeg before they even went out to Arizona. So he's probably going to be one of the ones that might get traded. We don't know yet, so he might be looking to jump on a team to try and capture a cup. He's been in the league now 18, 19 years, so he's an elder statesman that's, trying to kiss the cup one time and maybe ride off in the sunset. So, we could see a lot of players, make a move like that. We saw one earlier a couple weeks ago when Vinny LeCavalier went to L.A., so he wants to try and win a cup one more time and have two to his name and, possibly a few years down the road be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, we're going to see some fireworks here and there. We're going to see some cutthroat general managers. We're going to see some pretty good deals, and I think we're going to see some pretty off-the-wall, messed-up deals that probably won't pan out too well. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. I'm still keeping an eye on this. Haven't really seen anything big yet that's, kind of getting ready to happen. So just counting down, Jay, waiting to see who's going to put on a different sweater and who's going to, who's not going to put on a new sweater. So hopefully I want to see the Hurricanes be potential buyers. They're not too far out of a playoff spot. Still have time to make plenty of moves. And, you win 2-3 games in a row here and there, you can get yourself back into a wild card spot. So that's the beautiful thing about playing 82 games is you can come up with a strategy, just like in basketball, and, just do what you have to do to get to the postseason. And Carolina having their 10-year anniversary probably, hopefully, lit a spark in them boys. 10 years ago, they won the Stanley Cup and everything like that. So it's pretty cool to see the arena have the Art Ross and the Conn Smythe, the MVP trophy with the cup and everything like that. I do believe the Lady Byng trophy was there too. So, I mean, hopefully that lit a fire underneath Carolina and they can be buyers too. They've been doing pretty well as of, coming off the All-Star break here and there. So still paying attention to them. I still believe in them, and I think they have the tools to make the playoffs. Whether they go deep, I still feel that they lack in a few certain areas to go really deep. But if Cam Ward can play like he used to back in the day, they could be a very dangerous team. Very sleepy-ish sleeper team, kind of like how Florida's been, so far until now. So, they don't have a target on their back right now. They're the ones shooting for the playoff spot. So, hopefully they can get it, Jay.
Now, I got to do a shout-out to probably one of the greatest hockey players to never play hockey, and the fact that Happy Gilmore turns 20 today. So I wanted to put that out there. I think there's not a single probably hockey player has never sat and watched some Happy Gilmore, even though it really has nothing to do with hockey. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen Happy Gilmore, but I just came across that while we were on the air, and I just wanted to point out that Happy Gilmore turned 20 years old today.
Wow, that kind of makes me feel really, really old there, Jay. Jeez, 20 years ago it came out. It's definitely, you're right, it's definitely not a hockey movie, but it's still a good movie about a hockey player trying to play golf. So all hockey players play golf except for this hockey player right here on the air right now. I think I'm the only hockey player that can't play golf because I am absolutely horrible at playing golf. I cannot play golf. I can't drive. I can't putt. Hell, I can't even go to a driving range and hit balls straight. I'm not the golf type. I guess I'm just a hockey player. I did not get that golf gene, but most hockey players are pretty good at golf. Most of my buddies back home that we all played together, Pytech, Saramuga, Garrett, if you guys are listening, you guys know I never went to our golf outings because, let's face it, there was no point. I'd have been chasing a ball all day long, and I wasn't going to do that. So that's pretty cool to see Happy Gilmore turn 20 today. Now I'm going to probably have to watch that movie after I get off the air tonight. So It's been a while since I've watched that one. So that's pretty cool, and it's a hockey thing. Most hockey players can golf. They like to golf. I think we remember Zach saying that he likes to get out on that golf course a few times too. So, which is pretty cool. But no, I am not the golfer. I think I am the only hockey player in the world, Jay, that just can't play golf. Just absolutely horrible. My handicap would be so bad or actually in that case so good because I am just that bad. Just that bad. I can hit a puck, can't hit a golf ball, Jay.
I never had the opportunity to be out on a golf course. I would love to have the opportunity. Anybody out there listening to the show that's local to me and wants to take me golfing, let me know. I would love to have the opportunity. I heard it's a great thing to be able to go do, be able to kick back and have fun with it. I have just never had the opportunity, and I would love just once to have the opportunity to try it. So just keeping that out there for anybody that's listening to the show that's close to my proximity here. Izzo, as always, great time. Love the information. Glad that you was able to sit in with us tonight and get all our NHL listeners out there up to date. So want to make sure that I thank you very much for that, and looking forward to seeing what goes on in the NHL over the next 7 days and get you back on here. I want to wish you the best, and I don't know. I'm just used to telling the drivers best in the season and everything else, and I just kind of got sidetracked. But make sure that you, in the next couple of days, make sure you definitely get you some Happy Gilmore in and celebrate the 20 anniversary of that. And I'll definitely get in touch with you throughout this week, and looking forward to next Tuesday night.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You have a good night as well, Jay. And all my fuckheads, till next week, same time, same bat channel.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. That was Izzo, our NHL expert. I tell you what, another successful night here. Another athlete on the show, another expert, another 2 hours, and we're done. It's hard to believe. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, the 110 Nation Morning Show, 9 a.m. I will be back at it. I was at it this morning. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow night, we have guests. As a matter of fact, we might have a couple guests. We got Enrique, and I know that I'm about to Baca. I guess I'll try that, Enrique, though. Part of the Welland All-American Series with Rev Racing, also a Drive for Diversity winner. So definitely looking forward and excited about having Enrique on the show tomorrow night. So make sure you guys tune in. We'll have him on at 9:30. So don't miss that on that. Of course, we'll have other things ready and planned for you tomorrow on Hump Day. So make sure you guys tune in. I want to thank everybody. Make sure you guys check us out on Twitter. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Check out our company site, www.the110nation.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Like I noted earlier before we had Izzo come on the show, if you're interested to join the 110 Nation, if you got a show that you want to rebroadcast on our network, if you want to be my co-host, if you're an expert and want to come on 30 minutes once or twice a week to talk about a specific sport, if you're a writer and you want to be able to have your writing on a platform to get seen by a whole crap ton full of people, all you got to do is hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. We'd love to have the opportunity to talk to you and have you come aboard the 110 Nation. Also, if you're interested in coming on the show, if you're an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization, team, whatever the case may be, maybe you got a show or site you want to come on and promote it and talk sports, or maybe you got some kind of charity such as Seek to Destroy Cancer and More Than Just Me, just two of the foundations that we're involved with right now in helping making their events be a success. all you got to do is hit that Miss Lee. That is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Make sure you guys are there. You guys have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110 Nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Today, Bridget Griffin shared a video of her daily yoga routine, 2 self-help articles, and her new blog called Build Your Inner Bridge with Bridge. Girl, your sharing has turned into oversharing. No worries, Bridge. Geico has some info worth sharing with your 7 blog followers, like how you could save money on your car insurance, update your policy, and report a claim just by visiting geico.com. How's that for building your inner bridge? Bridge, Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.